A very good evening to everyone present here. I hope I'm audible. You can give me a yes or a no on chat. That would be great. Okay, all right. So thank you all for joining. We're just waiting for a few more participants to join us, and we will get going. All right. Good evening, everyone. We're sorry to keep you all waiting. I hope I'm audible now. I did see a few of them, Mr. Paresh and Virupaksha, saying no audio. We hadn't started off yet. So, once again, really sorry to keep you all waiting. Uh, Wonderful to have all of you here this evening with us. So, we will start off. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone once again for joining us for today's webinar organized by Web Solutions. I'd also like to thank our chief speaker, Mr. Ramakrishnan, for joining us today on yet another webinar. We're looking forward to a wonderful session. I am Siddharth and I handle product marketing at Web Solutions. So I'm sure all of you are aware of what the topic is for today's session. So before we get into the topic, before I hand it over to Mr. Ramki, I will actually want to talk about a little bit about the company that I represent. So we will move to the next slide. So Web is a 20-year-old company as of today. Web was initially known as Wipro e-Peripherals, and we were actually a part of Wipro itself. In 2000, we became an independent entity. So we initially started off with the peripherals division itself. From there on, we have actually expanded our product and service line. I will talk about that in the upcoming slides. We have multiple solution offerings. We'll move on to the next slide. As you can see, we tend to both corporate and retail. The retail side, we actually deal with billing printers for departmental and Kirana stores. What you see on the screen is on the corporate end, we have managed print services, digital transformation solutions, which comprises of GST, that is taxation, and document management system solution. Thirdly, we have the intelligent office automation solutions. As you can see, this is a little more in brief about our solutions on offer. I will take a little bit of time on these four serial numbers that you see, starting off with managed print services, which is India's #1 company. In fact, we're known as India's #1 MPS company. The business here is such that we deal with printing hardware based on customer requirement, and they would be charged per print. So the asset management side is completely handled by us. Aside this, we also tend to the complete end-to-end service and support for the customer. Secondly, intelligent office automation solutions. Web Solutions offers the latest range of best-selling intelligent office automation solutions. We have a wide range of multifunction printers on offer. We are in fact the authorized distributor alongside Ricoh Japan to sell their products in the country. And serial number 3 and 4 is the digital transformation side of solutions that we have. I will start off with GST, that is Goods and Services Tax Solution. We in fact hold the license called GSP. I'm sure most of you are aware of what a GSP is. We are appointed by the GST itself. We have an all-in-one solution which manages all of your GST concerns, right from filing, reconciliation, data preparation, validation, e-waybill automation. We have separate modules built in for e-waybill automation. E-invoicing, we handle ERP integration, most of the common ERPs such as SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics. We also have a standalone solution called Managed GST Filing. Lastly, we have document management solutions. Here we offer tailored custom solutions with the help of two concepts, mainly low-code development platform, which would enable you to build any sort of custom application you want, and workflow automation. With the help of this, I will move to the next slide. That is what you're seeing right now. we were able to build certain industry-oriented processes that are existing already. We're able to build automated solutions for the same, starting off with employee records management, procure-to-pay process, management of change for pharma industries, pharma and chemical, and a built-in cloud document repository. So the ultimate idea of the solution is to promote business process automation. This is what we do with our solutions and services end. We will move on to the next slide. Once again, thank you all for joining us for today's session. I would like to go to the next slide and launch a quick poll for our audience here today. So I actually explained regarding the solutions that we have. The last one that I spoke about was the DMS solution itself. I will launch a poll for our audience here today. You should be able to see it on your screen right now. So today's session is purely dedicated to our speaker, Mr. Ramkrishna. He will be talking about Industry 4.0 and building the perfect digital factory. So we usually go ahead and show a demo of our platform, but we cannot do that today. So I just want to mention that the demo that we have on offer will be absolutely free. And we will be able to portray a one-on-one session itself for those who are interested. So let me leave this poll on for the next 1 minute. Dear audience, I'd also like to mention that Mr. Ramkrishna will be taking up any questions related to the topic as we move on. So you can use the chat or the Q&A tab to drop your questions below. All right, I will end the poll right now. Thank you all for your inputs. Let us move on further. Yeah, Mr. Ramki, you can go to the next slide. Without further ado, I will introduce our speaker. Welcoming Mr. Ramkrishnan Sudarshanam, top leadership strategist, a technology thought leader, and a globally recognized CIO with a distinguished track record of providing leadership in CIO roles for over 18 years that include the implementation and execution of various large-scale projects in cutting-edge and emerging technologies such as cloud, IoT, RPA, mobility, and rapid application development platforms. Mr. Ramkrishnan brings on board 37 years of technology experience, people leadership, invaluable business insights, and wisdom in various business critical roles in large enterprises such as United Breweries Limited, McDowell and Co., that have resulted in people, process, and operational efficiencies and overall business transformation. He is also a recipient of several national and international awards, industry recognitions for leadership and innovation. I'd like to name a few international industry awards: Premier 100 Technology Leader, Enterprise Innovation, Digital Edge 25. Let me name a few national industry awards as well: CIO 100, Digital Leader, Innovative CIO, IDC Insights Awards, Sea Change, Intelligent Enterprise, and a lot more. I take honor in introducing our chief speaker for the day. This is in fact our second webinar. I'm sure there are a few people who attended our last webinar back in October. I will hand it over to our chief speaker. This is an absolute honor, sir. Over to you. Sir, you're on mute. You will have to unmute.
Yeah, thanks, Siddharth. And good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So the session agenda for today is essentially, understanding Industry 4.0 technologies. What is Industry 4.0 all about? And how do you build a digital factory leveraging these? And then this will be followed after we go through the presentation. Probably we can have a few minutes of Q&A, and we'll try to take up as many questions as possible within the given time. So the presentation is titled as Digital Factory, as you would have seen in the web invite. And The reason why it has been titled like this is because ultimately when you leverage these technologies, you end up building a digital factory for your business. Now let us look at how the evolution of Industry 4.0 has come. Now prior to the fourth revolution of industrial revolution, there have been three revolutions before that. It all started with mechanization through water and steam power. This was in the early 17th century. That is when the first industrial revolution started. And when mass production was introduced and the use of electrical energy started, and assembly lines and all these things, emerged, that's when what was called as the second industrial revolution. When information technology started emerging, that's when the third industrial revolution happened, with technology enabling automation at the shop floor. That's a time when you had machines coming with HMI and all those computer control systems through which you can operate and manage the machine. And the present day is what we are talking about, Industry 4.0, where we are talking about cyber physical systems, which is nothing but intelligent machines. The machine which has the computer component, it has got a communication component. So essentially the machine is able to interact on its own. Now, till the time of Industrial Revolution 3.0, it was basically machine-human communication. Whereas Industry 4.0 begins with machine-to-machine communication with the help of internet, IoT, with the help of various other technologies that the Industry 4.0 comes with today. So let's look at how do we take this journey. So before that, just an overview of what do you mean by Industry 4.0, what does the Industry 4.0 design looks like. So the first thing, as I mentioned, the machines have become intelligent. So the machines are able to interoperate and interact with themselves with the use of cloud, Internet of Things, Internet of Services. Machines come with sensors, so they're able to communicate with each other without much of human intervention. And you have technologies today which allows you to have real-time diagnostics, ability to collect data from machines on a real-time basis as the machine is operating on the shop floor. The next component of Industry 4.0 is a real-time management. That is how the machines are able to manage themselves, coordinate the entire assembly line operations, and take decision depends on the condition that happens at any given point of time. Then there is an advent of digital twins. Some of you would have heard or read articles on that. Digital twin is nothing but a virtual digital model of a physical machine. And that becomes very useful when you want to do some simulation on your process by making changes without actually having to do on the real machine. Then predictive maintenance is what these technologies helps you to achieve, in the sense you are able to monitor the conditions of the machine on a real-time basis, understand the conditions of the machine, and then predict what would be the performance of the machine over a period of time. I will talk about all these things when I cover each of them in detail. Then when you do all these things, ultimately what you get is a manufacturing intelligence, which is an ability of information technology and operational technology to collaborate together and provide something like a management cockpit, which allows the decision makers to analyze and respond to changing conditions and take decisions on the spot on real-time basis. So digital factory is not something that you can achieve overnight. It's a journey that you need to undertake. And what I've listed down here is a path that you can, in my opinion, can take for achieving the pyramid, which is the manufacturing intelligence that I talked about. So you start with very basic system, which is a process control system. So most industries which are having process, they would all having process control system. This has been there in existence for a very long time, but they have been always operated independently. But in today's times, these process control systems are very well integrated with the other systems so that they work in tandem. Then you have diagnostic systems for the line and for your utilities which are there. Now, these diagnostic system helps you to understand the performance of the machine. I will be talking about each of them in the subsequent slides. So once the diagnostic systems are in place and the machines are connected, then you can implement a condition monitoring system, which allows you to monitor the conditions of the machine on a real-time basis, understand how the machines are performing on a given situation as regards to what probably should have been its performance. Now, once condition monitoring systems are implemented, then you have an early warning systems in place, then you can implement preventive maintenance system for your critical machines. So that's a predictive maintenance system so that you can do maintenance just in time. This can be followed with a line management system, which is nothing but managing the line in an automated manner with very minimal manual intervention. Then you have warehouse management system, production planning system. These have been there for a long time, but all these things are also forms an important component to make sure that your entire factory becomes digital. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're able to get an intelligence at the top level, information coming from all these systems integrated, and along with other ERP systems and other supply chain and other enterprise system, and you get a overall picture of how your manufacturing operations are performing. So let's look at each one of them. A process control system. So most of you would be familiar if you're working in a factory, especially in beverage industry or food processing or or any other chemical and all. Process control systems are something which has been there for a very long time. This helps you to manage recipes and then monitor and control the entire production process. Now, most of this process control system has got load cells which control the flow of input materials, goes through the entire piping, then the entire flow of the process right from its initial stage of raw material and getting converted into semi-finished goods. And then right through the production, you are able to track and monitor consumption of material, monitor the batches, and then you interface these with not only your ERP system, it can also be interfaced with the line management system. And ultimately with this, you will be able to control your entire process and optimize your process manufacturing. So then comes the diagnostic system, as I mentioned. So what does this diagnostic system do? Diagnostic systems are typically systems that help you to understand what's going on in your line. And it offers you with analysis as to which equipment is causing a bottleneck. So normally you must have heard, typically when there is a line, you've got a series of machines connected on a line. And normally there is always, it's like a V-shaped thing. You have a central machine, which is a critical machine, and you will have inbound and outbound. So many times when you are trying to evaluate the performance, you would not come to know without a system like this as to what exactly is the reason why your line is not performing the way it is supposed to perform. Many times you encounter a situation where a machine is not performing because it is blocked by the machine subsequent to it. Or sometimes the machine could be starving for some input coming from the previous process. Now, diagnostic systems helps you to understand this and give you an information on what exactly are the bottlenecks that you have. and which are the machines that is causing these bottlenecks. So with this information, you will be able to do a real-time action and understand, and then take necessary steps to see how to remove the blockage or the starvation that happens, and whatever changes that you want to make in the line. And because these systems collect several data from the machine, either through sensors or through PLCs, there are a variety of ways through which you can pick up information from these machines. And depending on the mode of method that you have chosen to connect, the information availability will be limited by this thing. Suppose if you connect through PLC, probably you might get most of the machines, most of the data that you are looking from the machine which are available. So as we are talking about diagnostic system for the line, now you also have a manufacturing line that is supported by utilities like compressors, refrigeration systems, boilers. There are many such systems, pumps and motors. There are many such systems that support your manufacturing assembly line. Now, unless and until those systems also work well, only then you will be able to operate the system in a seamless manner and get the output that you are desiring and the performance that you are seeking. So these systems, when you implement, you are also able to get information from these systems like OEE and various other things, historical data of performance. You get downtime analysis. And when you are also able to use technologies like AI today, you also will be able to do certain amount of prediction and insights on how downtime is happening, what is the cost for downtime, under what condition it is happening, what are the scenarios in which it is happening. For example, is it a product change in a particular product chain that is causing this downtime, or is there a particular shift or a particular operation on a particular day in which these things happen. So these kind of systems helps you to do these kind of analysis. So once you have the diagnostic system in place, basically you have information around what's happening in your line. So you have all the information about the performance of the machine. So once you have that, the next thing that you need to see is to make sure that the machine continue to run like that. So these condition monitoring systems are systems that form a critical component in building a digital factory. Now, unless and until you monitor the machines on a regular basis, you will not be able to take proactive actions. So these systems typically provide you with the help of sensors, early failure detection. Now, once you are able to identify these early failure detections, basically the deterioration of the condition, maybe you will be able to prevent an outage, an unplanned outage. Now, statistics shows that unplanned outages typically represent an average of 5% in lost production. So just imagine that with these systems, if you are able to avoid unplanned outage and take a downtime in a planned fashion and do maintenance, that is how you will be able to achieve efficiency. And these kind of systems helps you to give a continuous data on a real-time basis, and you are able to respond to those requirements depending on the condition that it throws onto you on a timely basis. And once you are able to monitor the condition and take preventive actions or corrective action on time, it helps you to increase the overall asset contribution over its life cycle. So once you have condition monitoring system in place, so you have the necessary infrastructure to monitor and understand the condition on an ongoing basis. So today you have algorithms with the help of which you are able to take this condition data and predict what could be a possible outage that can happen because of these conditions. Now, one of the challenges in maintenance that you would have also come across is that maintenance is always very difficult. Now, there are two challenges that typically you face in maintenance. One is whenever you have to maintain a machine, you need to take a downtime. And typically, availability of downtime in these competitive conditions are always difficult. So always you need to pressurize people to take downtime. The second challenge is, what is your base of maintenance? So essentially, we all are aware of preventive maintenance, but that's what you had prior to this predictive maintenance. You only had preventive maintenance. And if you don't do preventive maintenance, you will have breakdown maintenance. Now, preventive maintenance, what is the challenge with that? Now, most of the time, the preventive maintenance are carried out based on the OEM's recommendation. Now, OEM typically gives you a very conservative recommendation. Let me give you an example, which a very personal example, or very, on an individual side, not nearly on the organization side. Like take a battery, a car battery. Now, normally when you buy a car battery, the OEM of the battery generally gives you a 2-year warranty. So what it means is that at the end of 2 years, you need to replace that battery. Now, we all know that the batteries will easily perform well, at least for a period of 4 years. So invariably, most of us never replace the battery. Probably most people who are cautious people probably will replace around the 4th year, or some people will wait for the breakdown to happen and then only replace the battery. Now, something similar happens in the maintenance in the factory line also. So you end up not maintaining it, because if you go by the preventive maintenance and if you replace the battery in 2 years the way I would, your cost of maintenance goes up. And that is something which again affects your overall efficiency of the factory. So if you are able to maintain the machine on a near on need basis, on a near, just before the machine goes down, based on these insights that these kind of systems give, then what happens is your maintenance cost comes down, your effective downtime comes down, and your asset utilization therefore goes up, and your life of the asset also goes up, because you are maintaining it just in time, just before, and doesn't allow the breakdown to happen. And one of the important things about this system is that it helps you to identify assets that are not performing to its potential at a very early stage. So predictive maintenance is a key component or a key benefit that you will get when you have these kind of systems implemented in your digital factory. So once you have your basic operation level things under control, that is your conditions, of your line diagnostic system that understands the line, you have your condition monitoring system, you have got your predictive maintenance systems. So once you have all these things in place, then that is the time when you can implement what we call it as a line management system. Now, what is a line management system? A line management system is something that allows you to manage your entire line. What do I mean by that is typically in any line, assembly line, you will have multiple products and there are product changeovers. So this is something which every factory manager has to deal with. And one of the problem is that when there are frequent changeovers, you lose time. With every changeover, there are some settings to be done and it consumes time. So line management systems helps you to schedule the entire operation, reducing the changeover time to as minimum as possible. And it also helps you to automate some of this changeover mechanism, because this comes with intelligent communication system that communicates with other machines in the line. And then the whole thing is controlled in a manner in which optimum production is achieved and quality output is achieved. Just to give an example, For example, let us say if there is an input material that has to be fed. Now, these kind of systems ensure that the correct material is fed at the input level so that you don't have a scenario of realizing the problem after the production has happened. So these kind of systems helps you to prevent, wrong labeling and wrong kind of, packaging happening and things like that. And it also allows you to, do better line utilization because it reduces the overall changeover time. And in some cases, in some situation, it also helps you to change over on the fly because the system controls the production, make sure that, the line is cleared and the system line, configurations are changed before the next product comes on the line. Now, in the absence of these systems, most of these operations are done by humans manually, which is always prone to error. Now, warehouse management system, again, has been existing for a very long time. And why it is very important in a digital factory is because warehouse normally forms a very critical infrastructure wherein the produce is stored. Now, you would have noticed that in many of the factories in the Indian environment, the concept of warehouse is still not very clearly defined. Now, most of the time, what people call it as a warehouse is like a godown. At best, you can call it as a godown. And you'll find that all the products are stacked against a wall. Now, imagine a situation that when you have a warehouse like this, where products are stacked against a wall, how will you actually implement if you want to implement a FIFO, a first in, first out? That is, the product you produce first has to be taken out first, and the product you produce later has to be taken out later. Now, in these kind of things, when the products are stacked against the wall, what happens is LIFO. So the last product, which is easier to pick, is what gets picked and gets dispatched. So warehouse management system allows you to optimize the design of the warehouse. Basically, depending upon the various items that you stock in the warehouse, you design a warehouse with optimal design. Ensure that the warehouses has got open spaces across all the four sites. The whole process of moving the item to the warehouse, picking the item from the warehouse are automated. We have got technologies like IoT sensors, RFID, robotics. Most of you people must have seen how Amazon manages their warehouse, because the complete thing is operated by robotics. Now, even if you don't have robotics, you can still use conventional, forklift fellows by guiding him through the use of these systems as to where he is to store the produce and where he has to pick up the produce when in the time of dispatch. Now, how does this all help? Because once you have this kind of system, it's ensured that you spend very limited time in moving the goods to the warehouse and removing from the goods from the warehouse. And it reduces your operating cost considerably because your design of the warehouse is optimum. You are able to stock optimally. Now, if the design is not okay, one of the challenges that you would have also seen in factories is that people earmark spaces for fast-moving items, slow-moving items. Now, what happens with this kind of earmarking is that even though the bay of the fast-moving is free, slow-moving item will not come and get stopped there, because the understanding is that this is a fast-moving item bay and this is a bay of the slow-moving item. Now, when you put all these things to an intelligent software system, the software will be able to help you utilize all these spaces and then ensure that whatever needs to be picked up in whatever fashion, you have access to that produce and the bays are clearly defined, and whether it is a forklift or a robot can move through the place and pick it up. And what it means is that ultimately it reduces your operating costs and also improves your overall service level, ensures that wrong dispatches do not happen, and you're also able to track exactly which batch has gone into the market, to which customer. So all these things becomes pretty easy once you have systems like this. Then comes the production planning system, because at the end of the day, you should be able to produce based on what exactly is required in the market. So production planning system is not new. They have been there for a long time. But what you see is that generally the production planning system works in isolation. And many places it's not very well implemented. So what you find is that a planning system exists, but it is not really connected to the shop floor systems properly. So in today's times, with your diagnostic system, with line management system, process control system, you are able to connect these production planning system to these systems so that they all work in a unified fashion and an integrated fashion, with the objective of optimally producing what is required by the market. And these systems also get interfaced with the ERP system, as has been the case. And at the same time, it also gets integrated with your production order, your process control system and line management system. And ultimately, this system remains on the top of the layer. So you have a planned production as to what needs to be produced, which is handed over to the line management system, which ensures that what has to be produced is produced in a manner in which there is minimum changeover. And then your condition monitoring system ensures, and predictive maintenance system ensures that your lines are running properly. And your diagnostic system helps you to understand that the performance of the line is as per requirement. So this way, you will have your entire operations of the factory, digitally controlled in a digital environment. And what you get once you have all this thing is what we call it as the manufacturing intelligence. And this actually gives rise to a concept that we've been talking these days, is shop floor to top floor. So how do we bring information that is happening on the shop floor real time to the top floor and integrate with other KPIs of the operations in terms of other systems like supply chain, procurement, your transportation and ERP and other enterprise systems, and give a centralized view to senior management so that they are able to respond to changes that is happening on the production on real-time basis. So if any decision has to be taken of changing any product line or doing something real-time, these systems will help you to take decisions on real-time basis. And many of these systems offers contextual information. And basically, these are all a result of, integration of OT and IT system, because unless and until operational technology and information technology systems are integrated, you will not be able to achieve these things. So that becomes a critical component in achieving this manufacturing intelligence and implementing the digital factory concept. So having seen this, probably we can take a look at probably what could be the possible implementation approach that you can take. So one is, while these systems are all there, we need to understand, as digital factory is a journey that has to be undertaken, and it is not something that will happen overnight. So it has to be done, planned, and executed in an effective manner. So you have to start with understanding what is your current state of maturity in terms of manufacturing processes and operations. Because you have to understand, how does your manufacturing operation currently look like? Are your machines, are in a condition, or can they be connected? Do you have, very obsolete machines? And how are your processes? Are your processes well defined? How are your operations today? So once you assess that, then you need to have a strategy as to what is it that you want to achieve and what is the roadmap. So whatever that I talked about in terms of the approach and the various steps is something like a roadmap that you want to build over time, saying that you want to implement these systems in this factory and then this system and then this system, some sort of a strategy and a roadmap that you define. And then you had to have a management buy-in, which is very critical, because unless you have senior management and leadership buy-in, you will not be able to take up this journey, because this journey involves investment and also commitment from all these people. And more important is that you need to have a manufacturing ecosystem where the physical elements and the digital elements of the business are able to communicate with each other, which can happen only when you have an integration of IT systems and OT systems. Now, normally, conventionally, what's happening is that IT is handled by IT personnel and OT is typically handled by operations. And most of the time, there is very limited involvement of IT people in the OT implementation. But if you want to leverage Industry 4.0 and if you want to build a digital factory, then this IT and OT systems have to integrate well. Because once you move into this direction, what happens is that your operational technology, that is the machines and the connected systems, also gets exposed to network, internet, cloud, and all that. So it is also important that you secure this. And so, cyber security and all those things also will start playing an important role. So it's very, very important that you have to integrate IT and OT together so that you are able to create a digital ecosystem wherein your physical machines and digital systems are able to communicate. And the recommendation always is to start with small, with a pilot approach. So you select a factory. If it is a greenfield, it would be great. But otherwise, you choose a factory in which there is a chance of experimenting and implementing. There is a possibility of a success. Do not take a factory which is where probability of success is very low, because then what happens is it will kill your entire initiative. So select a site wherein some of these things are in place and you are able to pilot it. And like I said, you have to take a staged approach and start building one of the other. And while you are implementing this, the focus should always be on improving processes and operations. Like I spoke about each of these systems, it is not necessary that you have to implement everything for everything. While a line diagnostic system probably will cut across all the machines in your assembly line, a process control system will cut across all the processes of your process manufacturing. But condition monitoring systems, predictive maintenance system, you may choose to implement for only those machines that are critical or where you are seeing challenges. And then over time, as you start gaining benefits, you can extend it to other machines. So starting small, going through a pilot approach, and keeping a focus always on improving processes, operation, trying to reduce cost, bring in efficiency, that should be the focus. So that's all from me today. And I hope all of you had got some idea on how you can approach this journey. And if you have any questions, I can take. I had some 3 questions which was given to me earlier.
Yes, sir. Yes. So thank you so much for the presentation, sir. I am sure the audience had a good takeaway from this. So I actually have a question on the chat for you, but
okay.
You can actually take up the ones that you've already received, and then we can go to this.
Okay.
Or
there was a 3. Yeah. I think first come, first serve, we'll follow the FIFO basis.
Yeah.
So there was a question from Kamal, who's asking for key steps toward factory digitalization. Now, I hope, Kamal, that this presentation would have actually given you or answered that question. Is Kamal online? Is there?
Let me just check. I don't think so. No. Oh yeah, he has joined. Yeah, there he is. He's here.
Yeah. So I hope this is addressed. The question that you had as to how to go toward digitalization. I gave you a step-by-step approach. I hope that answers your question. Could you respond by in chat, Kamal?
Yeah. Mr. Kamal has actually responded. He said yes.
Okay. The other question was from Paresh. He says, what approach should a new startup take for Industry 4.0 with obvious priorities of different types? Please recommend. Now, Paresh, I spoke to you about this entire presentation was about how to start and how to go about, building a digital factory. So if you have any specific questions, you may ask, because I think this presentation would have helped you to understand, what is the best way to approach in phased manner, one step at a time. And then, you build with a vision that is there, set up the vision and go towards us in a phased manner, keeping your other priorities in mind. Is Paresh, can he?
Yeah. He's also here. Mr. Paresh, I hope the presentation has actually covered the pointers that you were looking for. So if you need any further clarity, you can let us know. So I think you can move on to the next question. We will wait for his response, if any.
Yeah, next question is from Prashant, who again is asking a similar line question. What is the best approach for embarking on Industry 4.0 transformation journey? So Prashant, as I said, the implementation approach that I suggested, probably you can look at that and then do an assessment, try to understand where you are, and then look at how to embark that journey by taking baby steps, starting from your assembly line diagnostics, condition monitoring, predictive maintenance, and all.
Yeah, so
I hope it is answered. Somebody has raised a hand. Praveen.
I just wanted to interview you there. Mr. Praveen, if you can actually put down your question on the chat, that would be great. And in the meantime, Mr. Ramki, you can actually take up this question from Mr. Abhijit. He's asked if blockchain is a part of automation in manufacturing in the country.
Yeah, blockchain typically plays a role in supply chain. And then you can use blockchain for keeping track of, the concept of farm to produce, is there, where if you want to keep track of all the materials that goes into your production, and then ultimately the output of your produce, and then, if you want to track, so that's where blockchain can be used effectively. But blockchain is still in the early stages of implementation, and people are still experimenting with multiple areas. But yes, blockchain as a technology is something that has got potential and can very well be used in smart contracts and various other things, and essentially in the supply chain operation.
All right. Mr. Abhijit approves. So, Mr. Praveen, I'm not sure if I got your query yet. If you want us to let you talk, we can do that too. So just let us know. A quick reply on the chat would be great so that I can go ahead. In fact, if there's anyone who would like to actually speak up, I can do that for the next few minutes.
Praveen wanted to speak, he can speak. He wants, yeah.
Okay, so I will.
He raised his hand, right? Yeah, he raised his hand.
Okay, he's actually put down the query here. Mr. Praveen, if you'd still like to talk, let us know. I would be more than happy to do that. So I'm running an e-com platform now. We're looking for expanding investors approach, but they will enter only in April. So how can we control cost cutting? I believe that's how he's meant to put it down, sir.
Okay, it's a very generic question, but then unless you understand where exactly your costs are incurring, only then probably I'll be able to answer it better. So this requires a very, probably it's a, too generic, but if I have to talk about cost of maintenance, cost of operation, these diagnostic systems helps you to understand what's happening on the line. So if you are finding some performance of the machines are not up to expectation, you will be able to help these kind of systems helps you to reduce cost, improve efficiency. So ultimately your output will be more than what it is today, and thereby reduce your overall cost.
Right. Mr. Praveen, I hope that answers your question. If you'd like a little more in depth, I think I can actually connect you with Mr. Ramki post session. That can also be done. We will move on to the next question from Mr. Vinod. Can you please give us an example of blockchain typically used in the manufacturing supply chain?
Yeah. I think as I mentioned right now, basically, if you want to, let us say, have a concept of, let us say, traceability. So, right from your input material, a blockchain kind of technologies can help you to track, your source of the raw material right from its origin and its entire process, and then production that happens using those input materials. And ultimately, you are able to give complete traceability on your finished product as to this product has been made out of what all components, originated from where. So blockchain as a technology can be used because that will help you to track each of these data and then, provide you with the traceability that you want. So very, very effective in using track and trace.
All right, Mr. Vinod, hope that answers your query. All right, okay. So we can actually spend another few minutes, if that's okay with you, Mr. Ramki, on the
sure,
questions.
that's fine, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Abhijit, we will definitely reach out to you. I'm glad to hear the words. And I would just like to launch one poll, which I was not able to launch a little earlier. It might be a little off topic, but nevertheless, I would like to launch it. I hope all of you are seeing this, the ones who are present with us at the moment. I'd just like to know if any of you are actually exploring a process automation solution for your organization. I do understand most of you who are in the same background will already have a solution in place. All right. Mr. Ramki, would you want to hear from Mr. Praveen, because he still has his hand raised? I can just probably unmute him if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let me just allow Mr. Praveen to talk. Mr. Praveen, you should be able to talk now. Just a minute. Yeah, you should unmute. Yeah, you should be able to talk now.
Hello, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, sir? It was very great hearing you out throughout the whole session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I'm calling from Patna, Bihar. We have e-commerce platform, and since from last 4 months, we are really doing we are doing great, and we have turned about more than 2 CR revenue since from last 4 months. And we have approached VC and angel investors, and they have given a very good response. Like you heard the name 100 VCX from Mumbai, but they will come on board only after April. Okay, sir. And the thing is, we have more 3 months to to have these investors on board. But the thing is, sir, nowadays we are getting more clients, everything, and they were complaining about our app, and we don't have enough revenue to give to upgrade our app, because I have to look I have to look on my ground staffs, everything. So in this situation, I'm a bit confused how to manage this all things.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think probably you need to probably take, I don't know what your challenge you are saying is essentially on the app, or the challenge
Yes.
is.
App means sir, I have talked so many guys. They are charging like very huge amount, and right now I'm not in situation to spend more on my like technology. But how we can in this crucial time, how I can manage this all? That's what means I like to ask you. Can you give some tips?
See, basically, since you're saying if the app is, if the app needs to be, if some work has to be done on the app, you need to really figure out whether how important or critical that requirement is.
Correct.
Okay, as to is it really something that is required now, or that is something that you can, how important is that? How does it impact your operation? Does your, like you said, you are doing very well, your orders are doing very well. So
Yes.
despite that, whether the app is actually coming in the way or not. So,
Correct.
So once you analyze that, probably you will get an exact area where you need to focus on, because at the end of the day, your focus should always be on how to improve your business and ensure that you are doing as you are doing, or whatever is your growth plan that you are targeting.
Yes.
Now, app is just one of the components in your entire supply chain.
Correct.
So you've got ground stock, you've got delivery, you've got procurement, you've got many things. But yes, app becomes your layer of communication with the customers.
Correct. Sir.
Now, what you need to understand is that probably take some feedback from some customers and then try and understand how much of that app problem is that something they're bothering them.
Yes,
Maybe do some survey with them, understand whether is it something that they can live with, or something that, what are the 2 or 3 things that they want it done immediately.
Yes, sir.
So once you have some priority on that, maybe you can, approach the people who have built that app for you, and then try and do some quick fix so that, you can get the ball rolling.
Yes, sir.
And
Correct.
then move on. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Correct. Sir.
Yeah. Did it help?
No, sir. It's okay, sir. I understand. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. It was nice talking with you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
All right, Mr. Praveen. The pleasure was ours. I hope it was clear. If you'd still like to interact, let us know.
No, sir. It's okay, sir. What I got, it is okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Praveen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good day.
All right, that was wonderful. We still have probably 3 to 4 minutes. If there's anyone else who would like to have a quick chit chat with Mr. Ramki, you're free to do so. Just raise your hand. I would be able to let you do so. In the meantime, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I do hope that the session was informative for all of them who had joined us. And I'd like to mention that our team, that is the team at WEP, will be reaching out to the ones who actually, reacted to the polls. And our team will reach out on a one-on-one basis for any queries and demo-related things to be taken care of. That can be done. Okay, no queries at the moment, sir. So I will take that as a note, and I think we can wrap up for today, Mr. Ramki.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So
fine. So thanks everyone for joining, and I hope the presentation was helpful to all of you. And if there is anything, please reach out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening. Special thanks to Mr. Ramakrishna for yet another wonderful session and having dedicated the time and effort on this. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for that.
All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.